So I decided to make a video to address my obsessive compulsive disorder because a lot of the videos that I've been posting kind of, I mentioned that I have OCD and there's a little bit of struggle in the things that I do, but I make light of it. And at this stage in the channel, a lot of people that are watching the videos are friends and family. And even if you know me, you might really not fully understand the debilitating factors that go into having OCD. And I hate to say that because there are a lot of people that suffer from things way worse, and I don't want to sit here and say, well, I have got a sob story, but it is something that I think people say all the time, like, oh, I'm so OCD, and a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times I think they're probably referring to the fact that they like things a certain way and that's their routine. And it's completely normal to double check things. Did I lock the garage? Did I turn the lights off? Those sort of things. But with OCD, which stands for obsessive compulsive disorder, you obsess about that light being on. You obsess about that garage door being left open. And it is impossible to let the thought go without checking. Now here's where it gets really crazy, is that I will go and check something. For me, it's not necessarily a garage door. I don't even have a garage at my house. But I can check something, verify it, but it's almost like a reset button gets hit and I've got to check it again and again. And that's the compulsive behavior. So I obsess, the thought makes me obsess about it, and I have this compulsive behavior that goes with it. Now, one of the things that I wanted to share that I thought might be helpful to some of you out there that actually struggle with some serious OCD, and we all have different things that bother us, are just some of my coping skills that I've picked up over the years. And I've had, therapists that I've gone to. I've tried medicine that, it depends on the person. For me, it wasn't very helpful in terms of OCD, but there are plenty of people that got help. So don't think that I'm putting medication down at all. Do it works for you. And I also know that your obsessive thoughts and compulsive thoughts might not be anything like mine, but I do think that there are some similarities between all these things, that we're all trying to get through it together. But regardless if you have OCD or not, this is a little insight into me and my struggle. I believe that the entirety of my OCD, I don't know if this is the, actual clinical diagnosis, but for me, the majority, if not 99.9% of my obsessive compulsive behavior is because of anxiety. Uncontrollable anxiety. I am so anxious, and I also feel very out of control. And by doing these things, it gives me a feeling of control, if that makes sense. I can check the light switch. I can physically do that, and it gives me this sense of control. However, then, like I said, you hit the reset button. And I think one of the things that's most interesting to people that they might not know if they don't have OCD is that the majority of people with OCD are not only completely aware of their obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors, but are also completely understanding of just how ridiculous it is. When I am trying to cope with these things, I just realize, okay, there's something on the floor I don't want there. I have to do it. I know that that's so stupid. I know that I don't need to do it, but there's this compulsion to do it. And the fact that I'm self-aware about it only makes me even more self-conscious about it. So I wanted to do a little research. It helps me, it helps with my anxiety if I understand things, because you really always fear what you don't fully understand. And I felt like having a better understanding of what I had might help me take more control over it. And a lot of the stuff I read out there, it was very apparent to me that the people writing it do not suffer from it. They might have studied it, they might be doctors, but they don't live it every day. And sometimes that's really apparent. Now, one person that I read, I don't remember which website I went on. There was some good insight. I could tell that the person, though, didn't quite have the whole picture. And I took some notes. So this person said that there are different types of people with OCD, and that generally you have one of those types but don't cross over into another. And that's where I thought, no, 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 no. Because I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking about my behaviors, and I definitely cross over. So the first thing on the list is a washer. Okay, so that's somebody that obsesses about, germs and their hand cleanliness. I am constantly using my shirt to open door handles. Yeah, that's a real thing. I always get paper towels after I wash my hands and use that to open the door. If I handle anything, just about anything, even if I just spend 5 or 10 minutes petting my dog, I wash my hands. It is a need. Now, where the real struggle comes in for me is when I can't wash my hands, when it's not available. So what's my coping skill for that? It's quite simple. I just always have hand sanitizer with me. I know that it's not the same as washing, but it's just enough to get me through until I can get to a sink. Because what's going on in my brain is, like, let's say that I'm picking my daughter up from preschool. I'm taking all of her stuff. All these other kids have been there. She might have gotten sick. She's been playing in her clothes all day. I've got her lunchbox that's got stuff dripping out of it. Not really, but it's sticky from whatever we put in there. And I'm in the car, and all I can think about is my hands are dirty, and now I'm going to touch my steering wheel, and then my car is going to be dirty, and then I'm going to have to get my car washed. It's a very vicious cycle. So I then put on hand sanitizer, and it just allows me to at least believe that there are less germs being transferred, even though that is partially probably true. Now, the other form, there were different types of OCD that this person identified, and I do think that these are real types of OCD. However, when they said they don't usually cross over, you're going to hear, if you believe me, that is just not the case, is that there are checkers, okay? Now, checkers it refers to people that are, like we discussed earlier, checking light switches, making sure doors are locked, making sure certain things are certain ways. I am constantly checking the volume on my TV to make sure it's an even number. I don't know what it is about people with obsessive compulsive disorder, but I've found that most people that I've met that have it, now this might not be you, this might just be a coincidence, do not like odd numbers. We like things in even numbers. So like if I'm looking at my sound on my TV, I don't want it on 17, I want it on 16 or 18. Same goes for my car radio. If I'm listening and I have to turn it up, I have to make sure that it's on an even number. Don't ask me why it is what it is. That's just who I am. I'm a checker. But I promised you that I would talk about coping skills. And one of my coping skills, which might consider extreme, is letting technology do things for me. Computer, turn on office white noise. Did I forget to turn it off? Computer, turn off office white noise. Okay, because of the white noise. Computer, turn off office white noise. Isn't that nice? And I can do that remotely. I can control my lights. Everything from the desk lamp to things that are on switches. I allow technology to help me. I can ask my Echo if my alarm is set. I can set it from my phone. And that's a huge advantage that people didn't have that long ago, is setting automation and having the ability to check without having to physically go back. I mean, there have been times in the past when I've, turned around going to work to double check that my door was locked. Fortunately, it was very rare that I had to go back again and again. What I found myself doing was, instead of because I knew that when I left, I would feel the urge to come back. I literally just sat there and went like, locked, locked. And I'm not unlocking it. I keep trying to twist it further, locked, locked, locked. And if I did that enough times, I was able to get to work okay without worrying about it. So using technology to help with these sort of things has been a lifesaver, really has. Another type of OCD is hoarding. Now, you might have heard of hoarding, and there are people who are hoarders. Now, there are people that are hoarders to the extreme. I have a friend that definitely struggles from hoarding. You cannot see the floor in their home outside of a very slim path through piles and piles of mail. It's this like inability to throw things out to the extreme. Now, I don't know, because of my cleanliness that I don't let it get that bad. But this person had trouble throwing out any mail, anything. And it is amazing and a fire hazard, I'm sure. And the struggle is real. Now, I am not at that end. For me, it's just this collection of stuff and this feeling that I will need it. And now that reminds me. So you go to the dentist, and the dentist will give you all this stuff. And the funny thing is that it's always changing, because the samples come from some kind of rep or somebody most of the time. So they change, but I'm very specific. I have a routine. That's part of my coping skills for just life, is just sticking with a routine so I don't forget things. When you are obsessive and compulsive about things that don't matter, the things that do matter can get forgotten easily. So that's why it's even more important to stay organized. So I have this stuff. I have this stuff that I don't intend to use, but I don't throw it away. I don't throw it away, A, because I feel like it's wasteful. I don't throw it away because, B, I'm like, well, what if I'm going on a trip and it's just overnight, and these are the perfect size for just overnight? So I wind up stocking up. So it would be one thing if I had, one set of these things, but it turns into 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. It just, because you go to the dentist a couple times a year, it piles up. So how do I cope with this? I've told them at the doctor's office, please do not give me a care package. I appreciate it, but I'm saying this with peace and love. I'm not using it, and it can go to somebody that really does need it. There's a book out there. I forget the title of it. I just read some excerpts from it, and I think my mother read it, although I don't think it sunk in with her. It was something about like Zen and the art of tidying up. And when I heard about this, and again, I haven't read the book, but the concept stuck with me, and I let it sink in. It was, whenever you're looking at something in your house, okay, or on your desk, wherever you are, look at one object at a time and think to yourself, does this bring me joy? Okay? Now, of course, a pen is a necessity, but like, tchotchkes, little figurines, pictures, stuffed animals, all kinds of stuff. Look at it, look at the books on your shelf and say, does this book bring me joy? And if the answer is no, give yourself permission to get rid of it, to clear space. And I will tell you this, I have spent the last 3 or 4 weeks doing nothing but purging, bringing clothes I haven't worn forever to the donation bin, throwing away stuff that, quite frankly, was very expired, that I've been holding on to, like boxes of Tylenol, just weird stuff. And it's embarrassing to share this, but you're watching my videos and I'm making light. I'm trying to make light about a lot of this stuff, but there is a real struggle behind it. So the thing that I have found that was so important, the reason that I'm talking all about this hoarding is, as I have let stuff go, I have felt like more and more weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I have been able to relax more. The less I have, the better I feel. The more stuff I have, the more I feel like I need to maintain it, to manage it, to do something with it, and to store it. And it's like this pressure that I don't need, that I put on myself. Yeah, so that's real. Another type of OCD that I was researching was counters and arrangers. Now, these are you know, these are people that obsess over the way things look and counting that they have as many as they think they are supposed to have, and then having to recheck that. And that goes back to kind of like the checker thing. As for me, under the counter and arrangers tag, and this also follows in with the hoarding stuff, I have a impossible task of making sure that everything is at not only a perfectly right angle, but where I believe it needs to be. Ariel, you know that Daddy has to keep this towel straight or else he goes crazy from his OCD. Can you help Daddy put the towel straight? Now that's where the real test is, because my wife, she really wants to help me. She sees me struggling. She says, just tell me what you want moved. And I said, I can't. I won't know until I'm doing it. Now, if I have something that's laying on a shelf like this and, you know, I just straighten it, that's fine. But there are some things, like there's my sofa, right? And I should probably just get a quick video of this. Okay, so this is the couch I'm talking about. Now, I'm not even going to be able to fully really adjust it with holding the camera. But one of the things, so the blanket right now is uneven. So I will probably want to go and make sure that there is the same amount of space underneath on both sides, and then that the pillows are having the same angle with a little bit of this color showing on both sides. Now, even without my daughter here, these guys make things exponentially harder, because this is Bella, she likes to sit on top of that Mickey head right there, and of course that just throws everything off, and it's just a constant battle fixing it. The other thing you might be wondering is, well, hey, if it's bothering you so much, just get rid of the pillows and the blanket. They're decorative. And the point is, even if I got rid of these things, I would find something else. It's like the obsessive thoughts are like a vacuum. If you get rid of something that's plugging the vacuum, something else will get sucked up in there and it will just take over form somewhere else. That's why I don't even bother removing these things, because then I know it will be something else, like these cushions or whatever, you know, and now that's probably gonna bother me. I have to fix that. And of course, having a toddler makes this exponentially more difficult. And the real sad truth is that it's very hard for me to watch my daughter alone, not because she's doing anything wrong, not because I don't love her. It's just that I am usually pinned, like she wants to sit on top of me and watch the television, or I'm engaged with her in some activity, and I see something that bothers me, and instead of being in the moment with my daughter, I'm obsessing over, there's something on the floor there I need to throw away. Now you might notice that this room outside of the ring light I have set up is pretty dark, and that is not unintentional. I sit in dark rooms, not because I'm goth or emo or anything, not that there's anything wrong with that. I have a couple of those that work with me. I'm very fond of them. I sit in dark rooms so I see less. That is my coping skill. I don't want to see things that can potentially bother me. And the darker it is, as long as I have enough light to see what I'm doing, my eye won't catch things that are at the wrong angle, or maybe not where I will think that they should be. And of course, going back to the tidying up, the less stuff you have, the less there is to put to fix. The less there are, the less tchotchkes, the less things that you're collecting, the less things I have to worry about. Does that make sense? So that helps the other one. The one thing helps the other. Having less stuff means there's less stuff to organize. There are other types that I don't know. I'm trying to think. It was doubters and sinners was another type of people with OCD. I guess this is something that I don't believe that I struggle with anything in particularly in this one. I certainly do have my doubts, and I certainly have made some sins, but I don't usually obsess or compulse over them. So if that's your struggle, I don't quite know what I can suggest for coping skills for me. But I will say that overall, with everything, the more I can remove my personal ownership over it, and when I say ownership, I mean my responsibility over it, the more relaxed I find myself. So if, for example, let's see, how can I explain this? I will have a place that I do art at work, and I tell myself, this is not my space, this is my workspace. This is the business's space. I'm just occupying it. And that way, when, maybe some water spills or something, I am not in a huge rush, if I'm painting, that is, and some water spills, to wipe it up like I would be if it was on my desk or a coffee table or countertop. I've like removed my ownership from it so that I could be more comfortable to do things in that space. Now, that's a lot easier said than done, but it is possible in certain applications. The other thing that I struggle with is in one, so like let's talk about cleanliness, right? I vacuum every week on the same day, and I rarely even walk through the room, because once the carpet's vacuumed, you know how it makes those like lines, like the lawn's been mowed, or I don't know, crop circles, however you do it. I want it to look perfect. I want it to stay that way. So I find myself not walking on my carpet and making my life difficult. And you can see what that's like here. So I've begrudgingly turned the light on in here to show you this area of the carpet that I vacuumed. I rarely ever walk on it, and I vacuum it every week, even though it probably doesn't even need it. And every week I go through the same thing where here are my art supplies and, well, other various toys, but I don't want to walk on the carpet. So what I wind up doing is putting a hand here and then just reaching for my supplies while keeping my feet on the mat. So that's a challenge that I just have to kind of face on the daily. So the desire to keep things clean and tidy and looking straight and even hinders my ability to just even walk around my house, which is another reason I sit in the dark a lot, because we have a lot of carpeted rooms, especially on the downstairs level, and the less I have to see, the less it bothers me. One thing that's taken me a long time is to own this about myself, understanding that it is out of my control, because all I want to do is take control of it. I want to grasp it. And there's a lot of ignorant people out there that think that mental illness is just a lack of willpower. But let me tell you something. I've got extremely powerful willpower. Extremely. You can ask anybody that knows me. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I exercise regularly. I have very good willpower when I want to. And it's not about willpower. It's about a mental illness. And you shouldn't and I shouldn't have to apologize for that. This is just who I am. It's just the nature of obsessive compulsive disorder. And though I will apologize for keeping somebody waiting, because that's just the kind of person I am, the people that know me well don't need an apology. They don't ask for one. In fact, they don't even say anything about it. They just know, like, hey, that's Michael. That's just who he is and what he does, and they accept me, and that's why they are friends with me. But not feeling the need to apologize for being who you are, I think, is the point I'm trying to make. Having a partner that understands what you're going through makes things so much better, because it's having somebody there to validate you. And of course, my wife, Natasha, is a therapist, a marriage and family therapist, and she's got a great understanding of this stuff, and I didn't hide it from her when we first started dating. I mean, I was very upfront with her, because there are challenges that come in a marriage or just a relationship in general with somebody that has to deal with these things, because even though I'm not asking her to check lights nonstop, I'm doing it myself, she has to wait for me, or she has to watch me do it, and when you love somebody and you see them struggling, it hurts you, you know, and I get that, and that she feels that. And then of course you can feel guilty, but getting that reassurance, she always lets me know it's okay to be me, and that means the world to me. She has found ways to help me that I haven't even. She's figured out ways to help with my coping skills. So here's a prime example. We have a Keurig machine in the house, and we have a couple of different K-cups. And underneath the Keurig machine is a drawer, and you pull out the drawer and the cups are in there. But it's not a solid drawer, it's like a wire mesh, so you can kind of see in to see what's the first one before you pull it out. And Natasha noticed that I was being tortured every time she made a coffee or a tea or a hot chocolate, that I would find the stash and immediately refill the storage bin, that storage thing, which is crazy. The whole point is to make it convenient so that you can use it and then refill it. And the thing that she figured out, and I eventually figured out she was doing it, but I just sort of, once she started doing this, I was able to remove ownership of the Keurig machine, if that makes sense, because she was doing this, when she took the coffee out of the front, she would slide them in from the back. So from my view, when I went into the kitchen and looked at the coffee machine, it looked full. She understood that this would help me, and it really did. It really did help me, because not only did I feel like she was looking out for me in this instance, but she was managing it, so I didn't have to. In order to stay on top of things, it is so important to have a schedule. If you've ever watched The Big Bang Theory, they always talk about Sheldon does laundry on Saturday nights. Saturday nights are his laundry night. I have designated nights, and it goes way beyond laundry. I mean, there are days of the week that I know that I'm going to take the trash out. There's days of the weeks that I know that I'm going to clip my fingernails. There's days of the week that I know I'm going to do my laundry. There's days of the week that I know what I'm going to eat those days. These are all ways of A, helping me feel like I have control over things to some degree, and B, helping me make sure I don't forget. I wake up on Saturday and know that morning I need to refill my dog's water bowls, clean them out, and set up my medicine for the week, you know, my pills and vitamins and whatnot. And that routine, that habit, forming that habit ingrains it in your brain, and it almost becomes a compulsion of its own, that you'll do it because you know that you're going to do it, and you do it continuously. And then the only struggle from that is when you can't do it on those days, like you're going to be going out of town or what have you. But I always find that if I have to break my routine, I write it down. I write it down. And that is just a good tip overall for any obsessive compulsive thing. Write, if you have, I keep these little notepads with me everywhere. Write down, so this will sometimes help me, like, you just turned off the light. You just set the alarm, whatever it is, whatever that thing is, because not everybody can check with an echo. You've not only put it somewhere to remind yourself you did it, but also you alleviate your brain the responsibility of remembering the fact that a door locks at all. It's like, hey, what was I thinking about earlier, obsessing about? It was a door lock. Oh yeah, I wrote that down. It helps. I don't know why. It makes sense. And it's just always a good idea to have paper around you anyway, because, or some kind of recording device, because you never know what kind of ideas you'll have or thoughts you'll have. I know that, you know, when I find something funny, I'll usually want to jot it down immediately, or I'll forget immediately. Having kids definitely makes this harder, but I would never in a million years, for me, not have kids because of it. That's part of the challenge that I like about myself, that despite the fact that there are times, and I'll show you just some silly examples. Ariel, please don't wear shoes in the house. Ariel, no shoes in the house. Despite that there are times where it is such a struggle, the love that you have is so strong that you almost want to rise to the challenge for them. Like, okay, bring it on. Let's see what we can do. And it's hard. But I mean, I wouldn't trade my daughter for anything in the world. She is just everything to me. But this isn't really a video about kids. It's just a video about coping with obsessive compulsive disorder and a little bit more into what I deal with on a daily basis. And I'm not covering everything. I won't even remember everything because I'm not even always fully aware in the moment that I'm doing something, because it's just such a habit. I don't even think about it. And just, how many times I do things that are not in the most efficient way, but because they're going to help ease those obsessive thoughts and compulsive behaviors the fastest. Even though it would be just so much easier if I could wait for every trash can to be completely full before I took them all out. No. If this one's full, then they all got to be emptied out, whatever it is. The other thing that I've learned to do, and I don't always do this, but I can do this. So I talked about that carpet thing, right? Obviously, when you have kids and dogs and just if you have feet or whatever, the carpet's going to get walked on. I will, right after I vacuum, unpurposely walk on the carpet in paths that I know I have to walk through so that I don't let that image sink in of that pristine carpet. And just hearing this and making a video of this, it just sounds so silly. It's like, well, why are you even watching this? This is so ridiculous. But again, this channel is all about the things that drive me crazy to some degree, and my daily struggles with it. And I don't know, I just felt like opening up a little bit to you and sharing a little bit about this with you. As I said earlier, it really doesn't even come close to some of the major health issues that people have out there. And I also know that there are people with obsessive compulsive disorder that is way worse than mine, where it is a serious problem. It's a very serious problem. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I just decided to make something a little bit more from the heart. I just want to put myself out there for anybody that wants to listen and anybody that feels like it could help. That's why I did videos on like swallowing pills or whatever, I also pepper in with these silly videos, things that have kind of helped me through life. I'm human, just like you, and we all have to get through this journey of life together with each other, without. So even if you don't have OCD, help understanding what somebody with OCD is going through might help make it easier for you when you identify people doing these behaviors, and having more understanding and compassion for them, whether it's obsessive compulsive disorder or whatever. Having a better understanding of where people are coming from is the point. So anyway, this video has already gone on long enough, but that is me, my obsessive compulsive disorder, my coping skills, and feel free to follow me on Instagram. If this video was helpful to you, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to be notified when we post new videos. And I think that covers everything, but I gotta double check multiple times. Good. Let's get it. See? Nice and even. No. Ariel? You're torturing me and you don't even realize it. No. Can I have the towel, please? Oh, now it's on the floor. It has to go in the wash. Oh.